It's now 6:40, and I'd like to introduce our next candidate running for the 16th Congressional District, Canton.
That's always a good way to enter a room with that response, so thank you very much for being here. And we go to 710?
710.
All right. Then I think what I will do, since some of the faces are new and I'm not necessarily sure that I've been able to meet you or talk to you, I think what I will begin by introducing myself, a little bit about my background, then sharing with you the priorities that I think we need to be addressing as your representative, and then of course we'll open it up for questions. I first of all just want to say thank you for being here. I'll tell you what, we have been stacking our events right on top of each other, trying to meet as many people as possible here in the last 2 weeks. And quite honestly, what we find is when individuals actually take the time to look into the candidates, often they leave the room with an armload of our yard signs. So if you're one of those people, by the end of the evening, we'll make sure we have yard signs here for you, because we would love to have your help in putting them up. This is very exciting, because the reality is I have run before. 2 years ago when I ran, even though my opponent outspent me by $300,000, we won Medina 2-1, Wayne 2-1, Ashland 3-1. And it was here in Stark where we came up a little short. And you know what? It's a new day in Stark County, because I can honestly say we have made countless inroads into this great county since the last time I stood before so many of you. It's been very exciting. You've probably noticed all the yard signs going up. The good news is those yard signs just weren't randomly placed along the highway. They were actually asked to be put there by the property owners. And if you'll notice, they're distributed widespread all across Stark County. So we're confident that this time we're going to be able to pick up a few more votes here in Stark County and hopefully pull off a victory right here in our backyard. Now, having said that, for those of you who don't know, Matt Miller's my name. Obviously, was a county commissioner for 8 years. Prior to that, was actually at the Ohio Department of Transportation. Worked in the communications office and helped communities with their infrastructure needs. Before that, was actually working for H.R. Gill II. He was the owner of National Latex Products Company. And at that time, that was one of the largest producer of children's play balls and balloons in the country. In fact, their tagline was the balloon supply of America. And the only reason why I take the time to share those details about National Latex, Mr. Gill lobbied and lobbied and lobbied Ralph Regula to vote against NAFTA. And sure enough, Ralph did vote against NAFTA, but unfortunately many other leaders across the country didn't. And as a result, what Ross Perot said would be a giant sucking sound that would take our jobs away did come to pass, not so different than what he explained it. And sure enough, Mr. Gill's concern was legitimate, because within 5 years the company had closed their doors. His #1 competitor in Mexico. And of course, they were producing those play balls and balloons for cents on the dollar what he could. As I get into the reasons why I'm running and the issues we need to address, one of them are our trade policies here in America.
Amen.
I'm a Republican. Most people would say I'm a conservative, and I believe in the free market and free principles and free trade. But the truth of the matter is, free trade doesn't work when it's an unlevel playing field, an unfair playing field at very best. After being a county commissioner for 2 terms, actually ended up, of course, running for this seat 2 years ago, came up just a bit shy, and I have to confess, the twist that my life took at that point wasn't one that I anticipated, but I have to tell you, as I stand here tonight, it's one that might make oh so much sense. I am one of those crazy radicals that do believe God has a plan for each of our lives, even yours and even this great country's. And it's very interesting to me that one day after I was wrapping up my term as county commissioner, I was speaking in a local factory for United Way, and it just so happened our Salvation Army majors were in the audience. And afterwards, the major came up to me and said, Matt, we want you to come work for us. And of course I just laughed because it was the last thing on my radar. And he said, no, Matt, I'm serious. We want you to come work for us. We want you to run our new community center. And I said, well, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. sat down with both of them, and today, and for the last 2 years, have been the business administrator for the Salvation Army in Ashland. Now, I said that that was a twist that I never expected to take, but one that makes a lot of sense. The truth of the matter is, being at the Salvation Army has exposed me to a group of people that you and I don't normally run into on a daily basis. Not only that, it's shown me in a very real and powerful way the challenges that America's families are experiencing right now, as for many, this is the first time they found themselves without an income to purchase food for their family or to put a roof over their heads. And I can honestly say there's a big difference between sitting in a county commissioner's office and approving funding for a government program designed to help job and family services meet the needs of those that are hurting in our community versus now standing in the lobby face to face with those men and women and their children, hoping that you have enough money that's been donated throughout the year to help these individuals. There's another lesson you learn very quickly being at the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, for some reason, is able to address people's issues and problems and economic challenges a whole lot cheaper than the county, state, and federal government. And not only that, it seems as though the results tend to be a bit more precious than what you read from the government program. Like I say, I don't think it's a unusual thing or coincidence that I would end up at the Salvation Army, because as I stand before you today asking you to vote for me to represent you in Washington, let me tell you, if I were you, I'd be looking for a guy who understands the challenges in a very real way that the average person living in the 16th district understands them. Most of us are still shopping at Save-A-Lot, trying to stretch our dollars. We know all about the values at Aldi's. That's the group of people that, for the most part, make up this district. Thank God we're a prosperous district, and we still have successful businessmen and women all across our district. But the truth of the matter is, we need to elect more representatives who are in touch with the challenges we're facing every day. Now, here's the issues. The 4 priorities that I think we need to address, and that I would hope to address as your representative. Number 1, government spending. We almost don't even need to go into that because I think you can pretty much understand it yourself. No nation is going to be able to survive this level of deficit spending year after year after year. You've heard me tell you before, when I see China, the number 1 holder of American debt, starting to slow the pace at which they purchase our treasury bonds, to me, that should send up a red flag to every one of our United States citizens and taxpayers. If China is concerned about our ability to deal with our economic situation that we're creating, don't you think you and I, who actually have to pay the bill, should be concerned about it? Not only that, do any poll here in the district and across the state and across the nation, and what do you hear? The number 1 concern of people is job creation. How can we expect our businesses to create jobs in a climate that is so unstable, where it is so clear that someone will have to pay the bill of the huge new programs that are being passed in Washington? When I'm touring the companies around here over and over again, I hear from corporate managers about how they'll survive. They're fearful of what's around the corner, but they think they'll make do. And almost inevitably, the last comment of the visit is usually, but you know, we actually have enough work, we could add a few more people. But we're not about to play with someone's life and their family's life by bringing them on, setting the stage for them to believe they have a full-time position that's going to be around, and 6 months from now we'll have to lay them off because we'll get our tax bill, and it'll turn out that we're the ones that are going to pay for the new health care system. We're the ones that are going to pay for the new cap-and-trade system. We'll hope and pray that one doesn't get that far and that we make a change soon enough in Washington before it does. But nonetheless, the reality is government spending has a very real impact on you and I in our pocketbooks, but even more so on job creation all across the U.S.